Welcome to Table Goth. I am Bully,
And I'm Mandy Morose.
and today we're going to talk about the discipline Auspex. You don't need Auspex to see how cool these dice are. You can get them. Click on our thing. Are you happy with that one? I think that's a good transition. Help us. Use the links to get sweet vampire dice, or buy our merch. We have cool table golf shirts and stuff. Or if you want more discipline powers and options, buy our vampire player's guide in the storyteller vault. You can find all of these links somewhere. Now let's get into it. Auspex. Auspex gives you supernatural physical senses, lets you perceive the unseen, see through illusions and magic and auras and things like that. Even allows you to read minds. And then one of the flagship things I think about this is, of course, premonitions. You can have prophetic visions using Auspex as well.
Um, these powers are of the mental quality. They're a low masquerade threat, and the resonance that can go along with this is phlegmatic.
Phlegmatic?
Phlegmatic, like phlegm.
Like phlegm and automatic. Automatic phlegm.
Phlegmatic. Artists, visionaries, users of the psychoactive substances, and detectives might be into the Auspex.
Auspex is an in-clan discipline for the Hakata, the Malkavians, the Salubri, the Toreador, and the Tremere. A lot of people got it.
I mean, it's the best. It's the best one. So some of these powers. Heightened senses. This adds aspects to all perception rolls, and it can take a dice penalty if not turned off in time when exposed to extreme sensation. You can see in darkness, which is a nice little bonus. So like gunshots, fireworks, bright lights in the dark, those can all be problems if your heightened senses aren't turned off in time.
There's also Sense the Unseen. This allows you to sense things beyond the mundane. You can use this to counter obfuscate. You can see obfuscated kindred using Sense the Unseen. You can also see blood magic rituals and other effects as determined by the storyteller. The Yakata also use this to see ghosts and things of the nature, or Oblivion side.
Premonition. This is a well-known Malkavian power, and it can happen to kindred or be evoked. Flashes of insight ranging from strange feelings or sudden inspiration to vivid visions. I have absolutely no experience with premonition. I don't constantly rely on it because I put no other experience into any other aspects things.
Premonition is a great storyteller gift. It's always fun to have a player with premonition as a storyteller for you to like nudge them along or mess with them or give them hints when they're about to do something very dumb or to encourage them to do dumb things to have a vision about it. I love premonition as a storyteller.
I love it as a player, but sometimes, and we'll get into this in some of the other like elevations of this ability. Sometimes I feel weird using it because I feel like I'm not actively doing anything with it, but it's so cool. And like if you spend all those points in it, like you want to use it. But I think there's a balance to find. But it definitely is some of my favorite stuff. All right, next.
Thanks. There's also Obeah, one of the Salubri powers, which requires Fortitude 1. This allows you to soothe the emotional state of a subject. In mechanical terms, this also allows you to heal superficial willpower damage in a target.
It's like calm emotions for vampires.
Calm emotions. Classic spell that some people here use a lot.
I have also played a Salubri who used Obeah a lot. I'm just the emotional healer.
You just want people to chill out all the time.
I just need everyone to calm down. Moving on, Scry the Soul. You can read a subject's aura, which can reveal emotional state or resonance in blood, identify type of supernatural creature, whether they are under the influence of blood sorcery, whether they have committed diablerie in the last year, which is a very specific time frame. Critical allows something unexpected as determined by the storyteller. And this can be used on like scanning a crowd, or if you're picking someone out specific, or on a single person.
There's also share the senses, which allows you to use any of the senses of your target while also maintaining your own perception. Must be used on someone that's in line of sight or someone with your blood in them. This is one that mechanically feels a little narrow since you have to like be able to see them. So like, why are you using their senses if you already probably can see some of what they're seeing? It was a cool way to like eavesdrop on someone or stuff like that. And I think the more interesting is if they fed from you, you can tap into their senses no matter where they are. Which I got to use in a fun way with a villain. Somebody you didn't realize you fed from, and then all of a sudden someone knew what you were up to all the times because they were tapping into your senses. It's also cool because that's the sort of Auspex thing, is your perception supernatural. So it doesn't, a lot of the other things where your mind goes somewhere else, you go into torpor. This one, you're still fully aware of your surroundings while also sharing someone else's senses.
Spirit's touch. You can sense the emotional residue on an inanimate object or the ground as well as their surroundings, which I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Spirit's touch is very fun.
I like
very
it.
useful.
I like it a lot. I've also used that one a couple times.
Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is when you enter a trance and you can just sort of gather information from roughly a city block sized area. So not only can you just expand your senses to see and hear and whatnot, everything in an area, but if there's anything out of the ordinary that happens, clairvoyance lets you immediately tap into something that's going wrong or something interesting to you. Mechanically, you could just ask questions about an area as well as quickly learn information that would otherwise take hours or days of actual like footwork and interviewing people and talking to people. You could just expand your senses and take it all in at once. You could also use this to just remotely view things as they happen, sort of scrying on them, if you will.
I think that one's neat, especially because you kind of get so much information that can come from like weeks, and then the changes in what's normal there. Like that's the really cool part to me. Like something's changed, and now you have an idea of what normal is, cool what is strange, and what's normal.
What's this place usually like, and what doesn't fit here? Yeah, this is a very useful one. Also, just great utility for especially investigation or political games.
It's very cool. Next, we have possession. For using possession, you also need dominate level 3. This can only be used on mortals or bloodbound ghouls. For this, you go into a torpor-like state and control the victim, including during the day, and experiencing things the kindred could otherwise not enjoy, such as eating or intercourse. And this may incur stains for the use of this power.
Yeah, this one's freaky. Just full mind control, be able to take over a body. But also sort of the last part of like, you can actually like, I feel like one of the things that would drive a kindred mad eventually is like never seeing the sun or never experiencing things. You can do that essentially by just stealing someone else's experience or experience it through their body, which is also kind of fucked up. So I like that you could get stains for taking the agency away from people. There's also telepathy, which is what it sounds like. You can read the minds of other people. You can also project your thoughts into other people, though it costs willpower to probe into the thoughts of another vampire. Otherwise, it's just a roll to get information from humans. It's also a neat way to sort of use some of your other powers, like dominate and stuff like that. If you could just speak directly into their minds with eye contact when you otherwise not be able to hear them. It's a good way to sneakily do some things. Also kind of terrifying.
Do you feel like that could also be used to like send like mental images? Like, I know it says very specifically like thoughts, and in that way you kind of think of it as like sentences.
I think
but
they talk about that you could send images
flashes,
through as well.
Because that's something I always wish I had with some of my characters that are Malkavian, and so they have visions that are very important to things. But also just being able to send false visions into people's heads, I think could be really cool.
That would be cool.
And that's something I've always wanted to be able to do. But
I didn't think about that, like a Malkavian prophet that just shows people these visions, but they can make them up.
Well, it's just like you can tell people this is what you saw. It's not necessarily true, but if you can show them, that's so much more convincing, especially if they don't realize you could be lying. I think that's really
very
cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You can trick someone into thinking they're having visions even, and they don't even know it. Sort of implanting them.
It's really cool. But next we have Unburdening the Bestial Soul. For this, you also need Dominate 3. And this one's really neat. I think typically we think about it with Salubri.
No, Salubri one, yeah.
So you can gain a stain to remove stains from other vampires, and this can restore humanity on a critical.
Yeah, one of the only ways to get humanity back without some huge XP or role-playing stuff, just be able to give someone humanity. Really, really cool, like story-wise.
Yeah.
And sort of another trademark, I say, for the Salubri.
I love the Salubri.
Really makes them stand out. Yeah, that's all the basic Auspex powers. Again, we're only covering the powers in the core book or the companion. There's plenty of others in the book I made, as well as some of the other splats. Auspex, I think, is probably most associated with the Malkavians. That's why they freak people out, because they know what you're thinking and what you're about, and they can see things without you being able to do anything about it. Also, I mean, it makes sense that Tremere have it, Toreador. I like that it's also used with Celerity for, like, you can move really fast, but you need Auspex to make sense of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think that, like, mechanically, that's very smart. Like, someone was really thinking when they were like, oh, you probably need this too if you're going to be moving super speed.
Someone was really thinking. Yeah, Auspex is cool. I don't think... This doesn't feel like as much of a classic vampire power to me. When I think of vampires, I don't think of, like, prophets. But I think of, like, the heightened senses and stuff like that.
The possession.
Yeah, possession makes sense. And I guess be able to read auras maybe a little bit. But I feel like it's kind of a creative interpretation of powers. But ones that are really interesting. And also it's nice to counter a lot of the other things. You can know if someone's diablerized someone. And I think that's why so many clans have it. It makes it scary to try to get away with things or sneak around or hide things about yourself or what you've done, because a lot of kindred have access to Auspex. Yeah. My personal ranking, that's alright.
Alright?
Yeah.
Like C? Like a C minus?
Are we doing a tier list of the disciplines? That's a different video. We should do that, though. You probably love it because you're a Malkavian? Okay. So
in real life, I'm a Malkavian.
In real life, I'm correct in saying Auspex is okay.
Okay.
That's it for this video. Bye.
But first, level up time. Fancy dice.
What do you think you're accomplishing by these things you're saying?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to talk about the dice first?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a clever transition between Auspex and shilling.
I mean, this is one of the coolest set of powers. So you need the coolest set of dice. Oh, don't fucking look. Animal. Do you remember year one from last time? Watch my face. Watch back when you do that bit, because it was not impressed.
That was